Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. The film begins with a young girl named Vesper energetically scouring the mud for edible vegetables after a thorough search. She successfully gathers some and returns home to her ailing paralyzed father. Once she is settled in, she prepares a meal for him and connects it to his feeding tube, ensuring it reaches his stomach. Vesper then sets out once more, accompanied by her father's trusted floating communication robot. Venturing into the woods, they enter a tunnel where Vesper conducts basic experiments in an attempt to regenerate clean edible plants. In the corner, the remnants of a skeleton lay on a couch long forgotten as she carefully places her latest discovery in a small jar with liquid that dissolves it. They hear noises from outside and rush out to investigate, only to encounter a pilgrim individuals who conceal themselves and hold the salvage they gather. As they journeyed home, she attempted to broach the subject of the pilgrims with her father, only to be met with the revelation that her mother, who had left them to join the community a year prior, had no intention of returning. Upon reaching their home, they discovered the main door wide open, a clear sign of a break-in. Concerned about the situation, Vesper asks her father whether anyone had been present with him too, which he assures her that there had not, suggesting that the intruders must have already left. Equipping herself with a knife, Vesper cautiously enters the premises, only to discover some of their possessions damaged, edged, and their reactor severed and leaking. Hurrying to fix the damage, Vesper secures the leaking tubes, recognizing the need for assistance in maintaining the machine that sustains her father Darius. She sets out to seek aid from her uncle, who lives in his community nearby, selling pints of the blood of the children he fathered to the Citadel. Upon her arrival at the car LB, she witnesses her uncle's jog, an artificial humanoid designed for labor, writhing in agony following an accident that resulted in a sharp stick impaling its thighs. Fueled by anger at the mishap, Jonas commands the child responsible to end Jug's suffering, forcing him to terminate the artificial being by stabbing it repeatedly. Following the distressing ordeal, Jonas spots as Nice among the onlookers and beckons her over. Vesper informs her uncle that their generator has been sabotaged by an unknown individual, and all their bacteria are missing, resulting in a power outage. She explains that she isn't seeking charity, but Jonas makes it clear that he's not inclined to offer any inside the house. She does covers two chairs arranged in a room where the children donate blood. Seated in one of the chairs, Vesper prepares to give blood, while her uncle Jonas discusses the prospect of her joining the community to not waste her young blood and potentially becoming one of his breeders. He promises that he will take care of her father, since it is not his fault her mother abandoned them. Repulsed by the idea, she adamantly rejects the idea. After she finishes donating blood, she requests the bacteria owed to her, but he instructs her to return in 2 days, fully aware that her father didn't have that long. Suspicious of her uncle, Vesper tries to reclaim her blood, but her uncle seizes her and forcibly throws her out from his residence. Angry, Vesper bites her time until the situation calms down, then tries to sneak into his farm out back, but stops on her track when she sees one of her uncle's young boys. Skinny, although she had assumed he would rat her out, Skinny simply leaves the door open for her and leaves. Hurrying inside, she steals the bacteria necessary to sustain the generator. Rummaging around, he also comes across seeds he had bought from the Citadel and takes them as well. On her way home, she sees a ship flying across her head and hears the loud crashes. It hits the ground. The next morning, Darius speaks to Vesper after she charges his robot and inquires about the stolen seeds from Jonas, urging her to return them before he discovers they're missing. Vesper declines stay, eating her intention to unlock the genome of the seeds to make them fertile once more. When her father reprimands her for her aspirations, Vesper becomes upset and storms out of the house, only to stumble upon an unconscious girl who she assumes arrived on the ship she saw the previous night. Out of compassion, Vesper takes her to her home and cares for her injuries the next day. The stranger reveals herself as Camellia and begs Vesper to help her find her father, who was with her before the accident. She assures Vesper that she can take them both to the Citadel, where Darius can receive the necessary assistance. The next day, Vesper and her father's communication drone venture into the woods to search for Chameleon father. After an extensive search, they come across the wreckage of the crashed ship and try to open its doors. Before Vesper can see what's inside, Jonas appears with his numerous children and pushes her aside. Unison and his group manage to pry open the ship, revealing an elderly-looking man inside. Angrily looking at the hurt man, Eunice tells him that he has always wondered what they did with his children's blood. While Vesper watches and screams, Yona suffocates the man to death. Jonas notices a cloth next to the old man and realizes that there must have been another person there, making him suspect Vesper of knowing more, forced by her uncle. She and his children get rid of the body and clean up the area, taking the ship apart. On their way back home, Darius Cash and Vesper against disclosing information to Chameleon, and advises her to say they couldn't find what they were looking for. After a quick conversation, Vesper decides to show Camilla her life's work, guiding her deep into the woods. Vesper reveals the greenhouse she had dedicated years to. Inside, she presents the plants, whose genetic code she had meticulously crafted, showcase the stunning creations. Taken aback by the unexpected revelation, Camellia suggests they show this to her father, who was the head of synthetic biology in the Citadel. Upon arriving home, Vesper attends to her father's wounds by carefully placing a synthetic sheet over them. She then confides in Chameleon about her mother's abandonment. Later, she shares a book about animals with Camellia, asking if she recognizes any of them. Camellia eagerly identifies the animals and imitates their sounds, bringing laughter to Vesper. The day after, Vesper and her father's drone head to Jonas' his farm, aiming to use his transmitter to send a message to the Citadel about Camellia. The drone goes ahead to check for any obstacles or takes too long to come back. When Vesper goes after it, she finds Jonas meddling with the machine, ripping something out of it and explaining that he was only trying to fix it, informing her about the stolen seeds. He tells her that he had sent Skinny about to think about his mistakes. Terrified, Vesper grabs her drone and flees, only to realize a few minutes later that Jonas has ruined her father's sole means of communication. As she runs deep inside the wounds, she is shocked by the sight of Skinny's rotting body and startled by the sound of footsteps following her. Vesper starts running, but she can't get away as they catch up to her and brand her hand. Frightened by the ordeal, Vesper hurries home and finds solace in Conrilly, as Embrace, no longer able to keep it to herself. Fat Spur confides in Camellia that her father Elias has passed away and brings her to see the body. Camellia is shattered by the news and discloses to Vesper that she was a Jog created by Elias. She explains that creating a Sente and Jog was illegal and that they were fleeing to another Citadel for safety. When their ship crashed, Vesper realizes that Chameleon could never help them get to the Citadel like she wanted, and angrily pushes her Jug away. When Vesper returns home, she reveals to her father all that she has uncovered, including the mark Jonas branded on her hand, signifying her as his possession. Her father, filled with fear that Jonas will attempt to reclaim her, insists that she can no longer stay there. Her master's death has caused Chameleon indescribable grief, so she tries to take her own life, but Vesper stops her while bandaging her up. Vesper tells Camilla that although she was made to serve her master, she could change her purpose if she wanted to. Afterward, Vesper collects samples of Chameleon DNA and delves into studying it. She stumbles upon a locked sequence within Chamelea's sample and grows increasingly frustrated as she struggles to unlock it. Noticing Vesper's exhaustion, Camellia begins playing the same song she used to play for Elias when he feels frustrated, and Vesper starts seeing changes in the locked sequence. She realizes the key to unlocking it is hidden in the notes Camellia played. Using this insight, Vesper makes the plant seeds fertile. Again needing more filters, she goes to the tunnels, while Camellia stays home to tend to her Darius, his body. While they're alone, Eunice visits and discovers Camellia. He proposes to take her to his camp, assuring her that he can contact the Citadel and arrange for her to return home. Worried about Darius' safety, the Chameleon agrees to accompany Jonas, but he quickly realizes she is just a Jog as he considers making her his slave. Vesper bursts into the house holding a large knife. After a brief struggle, Camellia and Vesper overpower Jonas. Unwilling to kill anyway, Vesper tries to negotiate by telling Jonas that she would give him fertile seed in exchange for her freedom, assuring him that they never have to starve again. Later, Jonas returns to his compound and contacts the Citadel, informing them about Chameleon. A few hours later, soldiers sent from the Citadel arrive at his house and execute him along with his family. Upon returning home, Vesper utilizes the seed she obtained from her uncle to unlock their genetic code for planting. Suddenly, and notice an electric current outside, accompanied by a mist that infiltrates the house through the cracks. Darius recognizes from his years as a soldier that the Citadel is approaching and begs his daughter to leave. Despite her reluctance, Darius is adamant about ensuring Vesper's survival. After his daughter is out of sight, Darius, lying in wait, and ploys his drone to ignite the reactor, triggering a powerful explosion that kills all the guards within. As Vesper's home went up in flames, she tried to return to her father, but Camellia urged her to keep moving. Despite her overwhelming desire to return, Vesper found strength and Chameleon words, knowing that the guards were still in pursuit. Vesper and Chameleon faced the approach and guards, and in a daring move, Vesper activated the defensive plants circling them, unleashing them upon their assailants. Despite their apparent success, the harsh truth that the Citadel would relentlessly pursue Camilla began to weigh heavily on her. Faced with a heart-wrenching choice, she reluctantly administered a sedative to Vesper, knowing it would induce a deep slumber. Her eyes brimming with sorrow at the thought of leaving her behind. Surrendering herself to the Citadel guards, Chameleon found solace in the knowledge that she had shielded the young girl from harm. As Vesper drifted into unconsciousness, thoughts of conflicting emotions engulfed her mind. The next morning, Vesper awoke in the heart of the forest and made her way back home, only to discover it reduced to ashes. Kneeling on the charred ground, she dug a small hole and buried the modified seeds. Suddenly she heard voices coming from the woods and turned to see four of Jonas, his children, approaching her, allowing the children to accompany her on her journey. The group set out and stumbled upon a pilgrim settlement where the inhabitants were constructing a toll infrastructure from salvaged materials. Scaling the tall structure, Vesper gazed out at the expansive landscape and caught sight of the Citadel in the distance. Retrieving the modified seeds, she released them to the wind, wishing for their successful growth and prosperity wherever they landed. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.